So this is a new recording, new video on how I did the circle name all as one piece, how you can set it up in Illustrator. I will work towards learning Silhouette and Inkscape. I'm just not there yet, but I promise I will get to those soon. Hopefully though, once you see what I do, it will make more sense, and maybe you can adapt it or even share how you do it in the other programs. So anyways, so when you get the file of the different patterns that I'll be hopefully loading today, there will be this solid, beautiful chartreuse green ring. And that is what we're going to be attaching our monogram to. So I put over here the two fonts that I used. I'll include those in the instructions, but for now let's just go through how to actually do this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to select the type tool. We are going to write my last name, Marsh. We are then going to select somewhere else, and we are going to use Good Life, and we are going to make a big M. So from here, using my circle, we are going to resize this. One note while you're doing this, one thing I like to do is I will select the circle. I don't want to affect the circle at all right now, so I will select it. I will go to Object, and I will lock selection. That way I can't touch this, I can't edit it, and then once I'm ready to edit it, I can unlock it. So let's make this bigger. So let's go over here. Currently we're at 200. Let's try 500. See what happens. So I'm still not touching the edges, and I really need to be overlapping on the edges for this to connect. So let's jump up to 600. Still not quite there. 625. Let's see if that works. So that's pretty good. So I'm touching on both sides. We can shift it just a tidge if we want. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to change the fill of this, let's say to red. Oh, that's so pretty. Okay. And I'm kidding, by the way. All right, so now we're going to try and make this name bigger so that, oops, it's in the back. So how do we fix that? So we're going to go to Object, Arrange, and we're going to Bring to Front. Now we can see it. Okay, so now let's make this one bigger. Now if we did 625, let's see what happens. Okay, that's way too big, right? So let's go 400. Nope. Let's try 300. Getting closer. Shift it over. Let's see if this will work. So you really just want it just barely overlapping so that it's connected. Actually, that looks pretty close to the same as what I did here. But that's the trick. You need to have some overlap on the circle for this all to be joined together. So now that we're at that point, what we can do is we can select the red M and we can create outlines. If it's not over here like it is on my screen, go to Object, no, that's not it, Type, and create outlines. So we created outlines for Marsh, it looks like. So you're going to have all those little split lines where it's not connected. So we need to go to Pathfinder, which I have Pathfinder saved over here. I use it all the time. If you don't have it there, you can go to Window and you can go to Pathfinder and click this, and it will pop up. So we are going to merge those lines. So now there's no cut lines within that. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select the M, which I thought I was selected before, but I guess not. And we are going to again do Type, create outline. Okay, so now we have two outlines and we have the circle. So now we are going to object, unlock all. We are going to select the circle, the name, and my last name. And we are going to trim. And what trim does is anywhere there is an overlap, it's going to cut it. And it's going to merge the whole thing together. And now we are going to say outline. So trim, outline. Now, if I were to unclick this, it's invisible or somewhat invisible. We may need to do outline again. Let's see, outline. Now it's invisible. So click outline a couple times. I think because I hit trim, it actually made duplicate. So now we are going to ungroup, and let's change the stroke to black. And there we go. So now, right now, if we were to do this as is, the whole thing would cut out, okay? We want to change the color of the stroke so that we can engrave. So, or I'm sorry, score. So like for instance, right here, we don't want this little guy to cut. We want this to actually score. So we are going to select this little guy. We are going to go to stroke. We are going to change it to, I'm going to change it to red. So then it's very visible. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing throughout the whole piece. So this part of the M, this part of the M, and if you hit shift, you can select multiple places. Down here, stroke, red. Okay, so you see what will happen if we zoom in. It's going to cut out this triangle here. It'll cut out this, right? Now it will score this. So like over here, we want to go ahead and stroke red. Let's select here and here, here and here. Stroke red. So we still want this line to cut, and we want this to cut. We don't want this to cut. Stroke red. Okay, so I'm just working my way across. We don't want this little guy to cut right here. Select the R, the S, this little corner right here, stroke red, the flourish down here, which by the way, I absolutely love this font. Okay, here is the H, all needs to be cut. This little bit needs to be cut. This should be scored. This should be scored. This M should be scored. So this is all going to be cut out. So if you want to double check yourself, good way to do it is just start on one side and you kind of go along and say, okay, this needs to all be cut. Perfect. That's a shape that's cut. This is a shape that's cut. This is a shape that's cut. So you can go through and double check yourself that way. Looking through this, I think I've gotten all of it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and look, it almost looks identical. I'm going to go ahead and put this on an artboard. Selecting artboard and just going over it. And so it's artboard number 9. So I'm going to File, Export, Export as, use artboards, range 9. Select my video again, export, replace. Okay, we're going to upload Marsh video, open. Okay, here it is. So I always like to pull my cut file down. I like to have my score file on the top. That way everything stays pinned down, and then once it cuts, it can be, you know, if there's any warp, it'll release itself then. So when we hover over this, we're going to change it to score. I do like to use high quality because then it gives it the look of an inlay even though it's not. So make sure, number 1, you mask, because if you don't mask, then my little trick doesn't work. So, which I'll show you the painting trick in a little bit. So here is how it's set up. So you see the purple, or I'll select score, and you can see the blue. This is all the areas that it's going to score. This is all the areas in blue that it's going to cut. So we will go ahead and fire this up. I'm just going to show you on a piece of maple because I'm actually out of cedar, which is so sad. I love cedar. And we will go back over and video at my table so that we can see how I paint it. So stay tuned. Okay, so we are all cut and scored. The fun thing about this is now we can actually paint this 2 different colors, or not 2 different colors, but it will look like it's 2 different colors. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the masking of just my name, so just Marsh. So, and be careful because these letters are delicate, but we are going to just remove this masking, leaving everything else. And I'm doing this on black paper because I realize it's gonna be easier to see. Let's grab this up here. Whoops, see what I did? Because I'm not using my weeding tool. It's all right, just push it back down. All right, pull that off. Grab this skinny part right here. We're going to pull that up and all the way down. So now Marsh is unmasked, but the M and the circle is still got masking on it. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to push down the masking, just make sure it's tight, and then we're going to use my spray. I've been using the spray, and we are going to give the Marsh a good coat. You don't have to do it real heavy, but you can see that the wood will kind of change a different color because it's wet, and that's what you want. You don't want it to be to the point where your masking starts to wrinkle. That's you've gone a little too far. This stuff dries super fast, so we'll give it about 10 minutes, and then we will spray with our color. Okay, so we should be dry, or yeah, I mean, we're pretty darn dry. I'm gonna go ahead and roll it just one more time just to be safe because I'm always nervous. And now we are going to hit it with some spray paint. I am using my Montana Gold in this color Reed. And we are going to just hit it really quickly. Give it a good shake. Okay. Doesn't take much, especially because it's maple, so it's going to take the color pretty fast. And let's just hit it a little bit right there. Okay. So we're going to let this dry for probably about 5 minutes, and then we will remove the masking, and I'll show you how to finish it up. Okay, so we're pretty dry. That was maybe 5 minutes. I wouldn't advise like completely touching it, but it's pretty darn dry. So I'm using my weeding tool this time because I didn't learn. And I'm going to go ahead and, or I did learn, I'm going to go ahead and remove my masking of the rest of the piece. Like this. And then I'm going to remove the M. Look how clean those lines are. Come on. Sometimes it sticks. Doesn't want to come up. That's how good this masking is. And I'll include the masking that I use in my comments of this video, along with the other stuff I use today. So let's remove this. Remove this. Let's see. Oh, we got this little piece right here to remove. This piece to remove. And this little piece to remove. Okay, so here's the piece. I think it looks pretty darn good, pretty clean. You'll notice that with darker woods, sometimes this stuff will seep, which it's supposed to do. It's basically sealing the wood so that this paint can't seep. So I'd like to hit the project one more time at the end with this, because any discoloration you got from this will then be covered up, because you're basically applying a clear varnish to the whole piece, which in the darker woods, varnish will darken and richen your wood grain. So let's hit it one more time. You see how it gets darker? And I think that's it. So if we go back, grab my piece that I finished earlier. So this one I did in cedar with white, and I applied it to the top of my pattern pack, and I attached this leather strap. I used E6000 with the leather strap. I found the leather at Amazon. The seam I put on the bottom so it's not as noticeable. But that is basically how you create this as one solid piece. So if you guys have any questions, let me know, and I hope you found this tutorial helpful, useful, and I hope to do more soon. Thanks.